welcome everyone to the 36th meeting of the 46th year of the Rotary Club of Dublin and Worthington. Today's invocation will be provided by Frank Dunbar, and Frank is on Zoom. So go ahead, Frank.
Our Father, to you we pray. Help us to listen that we might hear. Help us to look that we might see. Help us to learn that we might know. Know that with strength we can do for others that which they are unable to do for themselves. And for that strength, we ask you to bless these Rotarians in our hybrid COVID meeting. Amen.
Gma is.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President-elect Steve, President-elect Steve, could you introduce any guests or visiting Rotary?
Sure. So looking around the room, I see familiar faces only. So we don't have any guests here, and I believe Teresa has a lot of guests on with us on Zoom.
On Zoom, we have Grandma Carol. We have Pete Russell. We have our speaker, Mollie, that will be introduced later. And I don't see any others.
Carol?
Yeah, Grandma Carol is on. Wait, Grandma. I think that's it.
Okay. So I want to give the people on Zoom a chance to do happy dollars, but to keep things orderly, I'd like to do in-room first. Does anybody have?
Yeah, we have Phil doing actually the happy dollars also. So
Perfect. By all means.
where did he go? Phil. Phil, where have you gone? Have you run off? Can't find him.
I know.
A sergeant.
Yes, well, thank you very much. It's always been a pleasure to be late. Speaking of that, there are a lot of you here in live that are wonderfully smiling and usually with mouthful of food. Patchen again. To those of you,
My bad.
to those of you who are on Zoom, who are not in Columbus, or not in the left central Ohio area, welcome. You now owe a happy dollar. So to those of you, do I see Paul Sankar there? I'm sure he's in Florida. If not the case, he should be. In any case, you're fined $1 and you will be checking in with Jennifer. Jennifer, just check it off and he'll pay that $1 later. And then the rest of you who are not in Central Ohio, you'll be catching that a little bit later. To those of you who are back for the first time, Mr. Kittredge, would you come and grab a mic and tell us where you've been? And if you come here to the mic, and in that case, be ready to contribute to happy dollars. Go ahead, David.
Yes, my wife and I just returned, my companion and first mate, or admiral, just returned from our boat. We put it up in Brunswick, Georgia for the summer for repairs, and we went from Fort Myers up to Brunswick, and next year we're going to go back down to Fort Myers, Keys, and over to the Bahamas, and then you may see us up here in Lake Erie. But we're back here for the summer, and if you see me going back and forth like this, it's because I haven't got my land legs yet.
David, tell us about the injuries to your boat. Why do you get, what's wrong with it?
Those will remain a secret. You'll have to get more than $1 from me.
Okay,
Debbie though, if you press her.
yes, I will, maybe
She
you will
will,
invite her.
she will tell you the whole story.
Good.
And with pictures.
That's great. And we appreciate you taking the time. Over there, Jennifer Best has the opportunity for you to give the actual cash. Or no, I'm sorry, Jim, you're carrying the cash box. Matter of fact, David, carry the cash box.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other happy dollars that I didn't already hit. Please raise your hand if you're local and if you're, oops. Is that Sue? Sue Cody.
Hi, yes, I have a happy dollar, two happy dollars. One, it's George's birthday today. So, yeah.
I would sing, George, but you don't want to hear that, George. You know, you have a better, no, you don't.
Nobody would ever guess, but he is 84. And, oh, sorry. My other happy dollar is I just returned from California where I had Mother's Day with my daughter for the first time in a long time.
That is wonderful. That is really a very, very happy dollar.
Yeah.
George, and thank you very much to George. Please, it was reminded from the in-person crowd here that happy dollar at birthday requires a contribution to the foundation as well. And I just wanted you to remember that. 4-way test will catch up to you.
10 cents a year.
That's 10 cents a year, George, in case you help make that rule. So,
Okay.
happy dollars on Zoom. Alan, welcome back. We're still here.
Yeah, good morning. Knowing that we have Lieutenant J.G. Sebald here, I went to school with her grandmother and uncle and grandfather. And it reminded me that 59 years ago today, I'm happy to say, I received my ensign bars at NAS Pensacola, Florida. And I'm glad to be here to say that.
We're glad you're here as well. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And also, by the way, thank you for the floral arrangement in your yard. You're doing a good job. Just keep it up. No slipping on this one. And we'll be visiting that. And any reports you'd like to make on that?
Well, I'd like to report that we are in the process of purging and packing, and 1400 Hickory Ridge will go on the market in June.
Market in June. So all of you who are ready to take on a small garden, that would be, how many master gardeners are there here? I know John Butterfield at Key Zoom. Any other master gardeners?
George Norris.
Besides George. But George has to stay right where he is, and then the chimp to stay in health. In any case, it's a wonderful spot to go, and you should absolutely be aware of it. And welcome back, and glad you're back horticulturally, Alan. Any other happy dollars? I see any on the Zoom.
Tim Shear.
Tim. Tim, where are you?
I'm on the TV. I'm on Zoom. Thank you, Phil. Hey, I just want to shout out and say, Mick Fox, it's great to see you. Where in the world are you and Sandy?
Good to see you too, Tim.
Where are you?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Very good.
Yep.
Welcome.
That's where our new grandchild is. We just bought a villa down here, actually.
Wow.
Good job. To those, one more happy dollar situation. To those of you who might have had children or grandchildren in this year's graduation class from college, high school, and or kindergarten, please raise your hands because that's going to be an automatic happy dollar. And oh my goodness, Jennifer, are you able to see the screen? There goes the foundation. Row. And who else? We have no more than that. More than that. Row, which graduation?
My granddaughter Colette will graduate kindergarten.
Wonderful, wonderful. And okay, Sarah.
My youngest Harper will graduate kindergarten.
Kindergarten graduations are really something to go through. That's good. Thank you. So Jennifer, Chair is also invited. David.
Phil, my grandson Noah Silliman will graduate from Thomas Worthington High School.
I was going to get you, if you didn't fess up, I was going to get you and make sure that that was the case. And we're very happy for you. And since you graduated from high school, that's 2, John. Two.
And kindergarten, he graduated from kindergarten too.
That's 3. And we have a $2 max. Okay, you hear a lot of that too. Okay, David Hanson.
My twin granddaughters, Josephine and Julia, will be graduating from the John F. Kennedy School in Berlin and in high school. And they'll be coming to spend the summer with us. Josephine will be going to Case Western this fall, and Julia will be going to Stetson University in the Netherlands.
That would be €2.
Okay,
€2.
that would be 2 Bitcoin.
26.
Yes, I
2
know.
Bitcoins.
40 cents. 2 Bitcoins.
Is that right? Jen.
Yeah, my grandson Austin, I talked about him last week, is graduating from Dublin.
Congratulations, that would be another one. So we've done a wonderful job here supporting the club and the foundation. Thank you, George. With that in mind, I will see that the pot is full by David's Kittredge's seafaring pot. If that's the kind of case. Okay, thank you. And then I'm going to turn it back to Kim. So thank you very much.
At this point, we'll take announcements, and if anyone has announcements from Zoom, please raise your hand. Those from here, please make your way up here.
So it's really nice to see everybody. It's kind of nice to have faces and Zoom. I just want to make a quick announcement from the Ways and Means Committee saying that we met last Sunday, not Mother's Day, the week before. And we had a good attendance, even though it was a Zoom meeting. We are starting to plan for next year, which we will have more information coming. It's hard to believe that this year is quickly going by. We're starting another year with a couple of new projects thrown in. Jerry's got a very good idea. Shirley's got a good idea, but it's a little early to announce to the public exactly what we're going to do until we get a few more details. So with that in mind, plan for volunteer, plan for being out there and about when we have everybody, and I think you'll enjoy the things we're going to do. Thank you.
It's important that we get a number, a few more at least, Rotarians from this club on our Ways and Means. That is the way that we plan for our projects in terms of funding many of them. So as we come out of COVID, it's going to be important that we look at what we have and what we need to develop. So please volunteer for that. Any other announcements? Jerry?
We are going to have an event, I'm going to call it, on Labor Day. And pursuant to that, we needed to raise some money, and we still do. So need you to be thinking about who you can approach as a sponsor for the event. And Mr. Butterfield was alerted to that yesterday and sent a short email to FC Bank, and they responded almost immediately with a $5,000 pledge to be the naming sponsor or major sponsor, or they can't get ahead of Rotary, but they'll be there. And Jennifer has already prepared the invoice, And that'll be worked out today. And we'll expect, well, checks from banks usually don't come very quickly, but they will eventually come because we have attorneys to work on them. So that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it. So there's your first message. We're still working out a few details and building blocks and so forth, but please get ready for the event. Going to need volunteers as usual. And we need to raise the funds to carry out our mission. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jerry. And that's terrific to have our lead sponsor for that event already set up, and hopefully all of you could think of someone, some business or individual to help get a sponsorship. At this point, are there any other announcements?
Jim, wasn't I gonna make an announcement?
Oh, pardon?
I was gonna make an announcement. Now I remember what it was.
Okay.
To do this hybrid meeting takes kind of a full-time person to stand here and do it. And if I'm gonna be the president July 1st, I can't do both. So if anybody knows of anybody in this club that is good with Zoom and wants to join that little task force, I'm gonna keep asking every week until July. Thank you.
It would be helpful to have a spreading of that so that it isn't just one person.
Yeah.
So we need a few volunteers, and you don't have to be an IT expert to do Zoom.
Nope.
You just have to become comfortable with it, I think. At this point, I would like Teresa to do the introduction of our speaker today.
All right, everybody buckle up, here we go. So it's my pleasure to introduce my niece, Mollie Sebald, who is currently a lieutenant junior grade in the US Navy. And she, actually, let me find her bio. She grew up in Broadview Heights, Ohio. And she attended Holy Name High School, where she fell in love with the game of basketball. Got recruited to play at Gannon University, which is in Erie, Pennsylvania. She graduated from Gannon as a mechanical engineer in 2015. Her basketball career was very rewarded. She was a 4-year letter winner. She was a 4-time NCAA tournament appearance teammate. And she ended up, she didn't say this in her bio, but I know she achieved the 200-point goal in basketball. She worked then in Erie for a plastic services network company as a design engineer and got to be promoted to some very interesting, cool jobs very early on. And from there, she decided to go into the US Navy and entered officer candidate school. And she was a naval flight officer and Naval Aviation Schools Command from 2017 to 2018. Then she went into the Training Squadron 10 and Training Squadron 86 in 2018 and 2019. And she's in Strike Fighter Squadron 106, 2019 and 2020. And now all that was in Pensacola, and now she's a Strike Fighter Squadron 11, currently from 2020 on, now stationed in Virginia Beach. So welcome, Mollie, and to keep it interesting, I prepared some questions that we're gonna ask her and make it a little interview style. There may be some things that she can't speak to or can't answer. So if she has a blank stare on her face, forgive her, but she may not be able to talk to everything. But so let's start way back, Mollie. Talk about your college experiences, some things that might have been really fun and highlighting. I know you took some really cool trips.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say thank you for having me this morning. Appreciate the invite to come speak with y'all. And then second, just before we get started, my public affairs officer wanted to let me tell everyone I am here on behalf of myself and I do not represent the United States Navy. So with all that said, all the boring stuff out of the way. Yeah, so going back to college, as you mentioned, I played basketball at Gannon. Got to play for 4 years there, and it was honestly a great experience. I think any college athlete will tell you that there's so many things you learn and very little of them have to do with basketball. So that was pretty, it was a really great learning experience for me. I got to make some of the greatest friends, people, my teammates I'm still friends with. We visit each other, travel around the country to see each other to this day. So I got to form a really great bond with, probably about 20 or so girls over the 4 years that I spent there. And got to play basketball, got to travel quite a bit through basketball. In college, we went to California, we played in Puerto Rico, we played in San Antonio, we played in Hawaii. We got to see some really cool stuff. And then actually a little bit post-college, I went with a team of Americans to Italy and played a couple games with an American team playing some Italian basketball teams. So overall basketball was a great experience for me, just getting to travel, see things and do some different things around the world. Yeah.
And you tackled a pretty tough major in mechanical engineering. What made you go into mechanical engineering?
I always knew that I liked math and I liked science. And when it came down, 18-year-old me decided that I was going to do engineering, and that was that. So I'm really grateful that in the engineering syllabus that it turned out that I really did like engineering, but it was kind of just I'm good at these two things. Might as well go for it.
And then the decision to go into the Navy, how did you come to that conclusion?
Just, as I talked about with basketball, traveling, being a part of a team, I worked for a really great company, a plastic services network, designing, engineering, challenging problems, got to do a lot at a very young point in my career, but ultimately missed the team aspect of it and definitely missed the traveling aspect of it. And at the time I was 23 and it was an exciting option. And I still think it's an exciting option, but it was just something different, something exciting, and definitely not a desk job.
And officer candidate school is not easy to get into. So obviously congratulations on being selected for that. So how did school go? What was that experience like? And you were in Norfolk, right?
Yep. So that's not in Norfolk. It's in Newport, Rhode Island now, not in Pensacola anymore. But in Newport, Rhode Island, it's OCS, Officer Candidate School, is basically the officer version of boot camp. So we just do it at a different location. And we actually, since Marines are part of the Department of the Navy as well, we train with Navy and Marine Corps drill instructors, and then also with commissioned officers there. So it was a challenging 12-week program. It's definitely designed to make sure that you want to be there, make sure you're committed to becoming an officer in the Navy, understanding what you're getting into, and then learning a lot of the basics of just seamanship and cordiality of being in the Navy.
Any funny stories that came out of that? Anything?
Oh, just your classic stories of, rolling around in the sand pit, covered in, sweat and dirt, and getting screamed at by Marine Corps drill instructors, and you don't even know what's going on. But then after a while, you realize that you gotta just start following orders, and you can, handle stress better and working. So I think that's the big thing, is it's teaching you how to deal with stress, how to work under stress, and how to lead under stress.
And then I remember a story that you took those bullies to task on the basketball court one day.
Oh, I mean, we'll get out every now and then. All the gyms on base and everything have basketball courts. So everybody thinks that because I'm a girl, I can't play, but very few other people played in college. So they're always surprised when I cross them up. All the guys are always like, oh, wow, that was embarrassing.
So from then on, you kind of had a couple of different decisions to make, what direction you wanted to go. What made you choose flying?
So actually coming into the Navy, that was my big thing. I knew that I wanted to fly, and it's fly or nothing for me, because there's a lot of really cool jobs in the Navy, but there's also a lot of really cool jobs not in the Navy. There's a lot of cool experiences people can have in America. So I decided that I was going to do the ultimate or bust. So I was going to come in. So I came in with an aviation contract, and then the big decisions were, what platform do you want to fly? So the Navy obviously flies a lot of different platforms, from helicopters to large big wing aircraft that look like 737s to, obviously jets. So there's, and quite a few things in between. So it really was, which direction do you want to go with this? And again, I'm here all in for the excitement. So I always put down, I wanted to go Jets, I wanted to go Jets. And now I'm lucky enough to, through a combination of time and effort and hard work and a lot of really great instructors throughout all of my training that helped me get here flying F-18s.
So in Pensacola, that was where you had most of your training, and the direction that you had to go was, or that you got to go and got to choose, was based on the level of accomplishment. Can you tell us, you got to brag a little, Mollie, about your accomplishments at Pensacola?
All right, I'll brag a little, but only because you said to. But so at Pensacola, we for those of you not familiar, we'll go through, we call it flight school. So it's a series of different training squadrons where you fly a variety of different aircraft. So the first aircraft that everybody flies is the T6. It's a single engine prop aircraft, and but it has like about 2,000 horsepower. So it's not your normal general aviation aircraft. It's definitely flying at fast airspeeds, and especially for people who've never flown before, it's quite shocking how fast everything happens. I know I struggled to get used to the speed of the game, if you will. But following that, so at each checkpoint, you kind of get ranked in your class and you get to choose. So actually it was myself and another really good buddy of mine, Anthony, and he and I worked really hard together. We studied together every day and constantly spent long days at the squadron, but he and I ended up finishing 1 and 2, and we both wanted to go Jets. So we both put down Jets and we got selected to go Jets. So we flew the mighty T-45, which is a single engine jet aircraft. It's the Navy's jet trainer. And then, oh yeah, here's some, you guys got the PowerPoint up here, but if you go down a couple pictures, I can show you the aircraft I'm talking about. But anyways, he and I studied together, and we continue to study together in, that's the T6 that's on the presentation right there, the single engine prop aircraft trainer. And then the next slide is showing some pictures from my winging in the T-45. So that was 8 long months of learning what it's like to do strike fighter aviation, essentially, and earning the mighty Wings of Gold down in Pensacola, which is a honored tradition that the Navy's been doing for over 50 years down there. So it's very established. You can see that's where the Blue Angels are based out of as well. You can see Blue Angel number 7, which is the 2-seat Blue Angel there on the left side of the picture. But it was a great experience down there. I ended up finishing top of my class there as well. So lucky me, again, working really hard. We had a really great class that all worked together, but I got to have my choice of platform and my choice of coast. So I actually chose to come to Virginia Beach and to fly in the Super Hornets. And the other option was to go to Whidbey Island up in Northwest Washington State. And they fly the Growler, which is an electronic attack aircraft. So I'm pretty happy, pretty lucky, got, through a lot of hard work, got to end up where I wanted to in Virginia Beach.
So your experiences, and talk a little bit about our backseat, which is what does that role do versus front seat of the plane?
So I'm sure that most people have seen Top Gun, the OG one with in the F-14s, but so they have Maverick and you have Goose, and essentially I'm Goose. So I sit in the back. I am a weapons system officer. So it's my responsibility to operate the weapon systems, operate like targeting pods, navigation, and work the comms, and basically help provide situational awareness, not only to the pilot, but to the entire flight, the entire division, and the entire mission. So basically, we call ourselves situational awareness enhancers, and we're kind of filling in the gaps. And, flying is a challenging process. So there's a lot going on at one time, and it definitely helps to have 2 brains back there splitting the workload.
If you go back one slide, Mollie actually sent this picture to me. It was in January last year, 2020. And she said, I thought you'd like this picture. It's a really cool picture, of course, just any old jet in the air, but the coolest thing about it is to know that I'm in that plane.
Yeah, this was actually one of my first flights in the Super Hornet. So it was, we trained in multiple aircraft coming up to it. So I'd flown just over 100 hours prior to this, but flying in a single engine jet that can't break the sound barrier to a 2-engine jet that's combat capable is quite a change. Honestly, I just remember the first time we'll run up the throttles on takeoff, and it is very fast. You're going from about 0 to 150 knots, which is nautical mile per hour, in just under 2,000 feet. So it's pretty aggressive takeoff on land, and that's not even counting all the fun stuff we get to do off the boat. But it was a pretty special moment. I think everybody's first flight in any aircraft is really exciting moment, especially when it's a pointy nose, supersonic all-weather fighter.
And this picture was actually taken right before sunset, which gave you all the pretty colors you mentioned.
Yeah, we fly all the time, all day, all night. We've got a lot of tools that help us, and
Are you allowed to talk about any of your practice missions for targeting?
Yeah, so a little bit. We practice. So this is actually a picture, we call it the RAG, the FRS, the Fleet Replacement Squadron. So post your flight school, you earn your wings, and then you go to a squadron where you spend about a year just learning how to fly your specific platform, whatever that aircraft might be. So we spent a year in Virginia Beach, and everybody has to go through one of these. So there's hundreds of students coming and going all the time. Well, maybe not hundreds, but dozens of students coming and going all the time. And you go through the F-18 is a strike fighter. So we execute air to ground and air to surface missions. They're both our primary mission. So we go through, we do like a FAM phase, and then we go through a fighter phase, which is these pictures with all the cool, nice blue water in the background are all from flying around Key West. So if you've ever been down there, I'm sure you've seen all the jets flying. There's a large naval base down there. So that's where we do our air-to-air training. And then this picture is from when we're doing our air-to-surface training. And we go out, and this was my first live bomb. So we drop a lot of practice bombs that are inert. So they're basically concrete. But this one was actually live, and it really exploded when we let it go off the jet. So that was a really exciting day. The explosions are pretty cool.
And I remember you're a master at targets.
I don't know about master. I think I've definitely, still young in my career and have a lot to learn, but I was pretty lucky to get to shoot some interesting missiles and drop some interesting bombs. So that's a picture of me just a couple weeks ago. We went out and shot a laser Maverick, which is a missile. So that's totally different experience than just dropping a bomb, because that thing comes off the jet pretty violently, and it reminds you that you're in a very tactical aircraft. That was an exciting one.
Speaking of violence and violent feelings from an airplane, talk about your experience when you first went up to the aircraft carrier.
That is honestly what makes this job so special. A lot of people fly in general aviation and airliners, and flying, tactically, pulling a lot of G and stuff. That's unlike anything, that you've experienced in general aviation world. So that's obviously very, exciting. But even after that, going to the boat blows all of those things out of the water. So basically you're just flying out there and you see this little speck out there. We have navigation tools to help us get there, but there's just a little speck on the water, and you're like, there's no way that's the boat. That can't be it. And then you get a little closer and you're like, all right, yeah, that definitely is the aircraft carrier, but it's really small. We're not going to land on that. That's crazy. And then you get a little closer and you're like, okay, we really are going to land on this thing. This is wild. And as you get closer, it gets a little bit bigger. I mean, for reference, an aircraft carrier is over 1,000 feet long. So it's not a small ship that you're landing on, but when you're flying, 150 miles an hour coming in for landing, it seems really small at the time. So, you come in, hook down, and you catch a wire, and it is a very abrupt stop. It stopped very quickly. I think it's just under 300 feet. So you're going from 150 miles an hour to 0 and 300 feet. It feels like a minor car crash. It's pretty aggressive, but you make it safely on deck, and it's just a huge feeling of relief. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, and there's 100 people running around on the deck. They're all waving wands. It's pure chaos. There's a helicopter taking off next to you, and you're just looking at one guy and you're like, taxi me, tell me where I have to go. And especially for carrier quals, because you're just launching and recovering real quick, they'll taxi you right over to the catapult, and you're sitting there, and it's just like the movies, just like Top Gun. You're sitting there, you do your controls, check them, make sure they're working right. Everything looks good with your instruments. And you give the guy the big salute, and he gives you the, taps the deck. Cool, we're gonna shoot you. But he doesn't happen right away. There's kind of like a delay, because it's got to go through 4 people giving it the thumbs up. So you're just sitting there when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? And then it is the coolest thing I think a human being can do is getting launched off the front of the boat. It is so fast. It is so exciting. It is a second and a half of a cat stroke, and then you're airborne. It's, if you don't have your head back, it will slam against the back of the seat rest. And it's just from one to flying, from sitting still on a boat to flying in the air, and you just turn around as in the air and you're just looking, and all of a sudden the boat's just getting smaller and smaller again. It looks like everything's happening in slow motion, but it really is a very violent, dangerous, but it definitely living on the edge, exciting place to be is the flight deck.
And what was the scariest moment through all of your flight training?
I would say the first night landing on the boat. So they'll launch you off. We launched off at like pinky time, so just around sunset, just post sunset. And then they send you off and they go, okay, go hold until the sun is fully set and it's really dark. And you go, okay, and you're just kind of flying around and wow, it's pretty out here. There's nothing. When you're out in the middle of the ocean, it's just black, right? There's no cultural lighting. There's no cities. It's just you. And if you can see it, the boat kind of lit up and water everywhere. So it's, but the first time you're coming around landing at night, you come down, it's a lot slower. In the day, it's quick, it's fast, but at night it's very deliberate. There's no time for mistakes because you just can't see to recover from them. So it's very slow, very deliberate, very organized, and a very canned route that you fly. But still, the first time you're sitting there looking for the ball behind the boat, and it's pitch black, and you have to land on that boat. It's really quite an exciting experience because it comes from dark, 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 and then all of a sudden you land on the boat and there's a million lights on, and it's quite an exciting but terrifying. I will say it's definitely more relief to land on the boat at night. On the daytime, it's good, like cool, we landed, but at night it's very relieving to know that you've trapped.
And then you talked about the boat being a city and some of the interesting food that you ate.
Yeah, I mean, the food, it's food. It'll get you from A to B, but not too much to write home about there. But honestly, they do a great job. They have, I mean, like you said, it's a city. There's only over 5,000 people on the aircraft carrier, so it's a lot of people to feed every meal, and it's a lot to take care of in a really small space. So living on the boat has its challenges for sure. I will be spending a lot more time on the boat here in the future, obviously, but it's a unique experience. It's definitely not like living on land, because that's it. That's all you have is the ship, is the boat. So you get your meals there, you get your fun there, you get your work time there, and then ultimately the best part of the boat is flying around the boat, because it's, like I said, it's just open water. It's just you and the water, and there's no rules. There's nobody telling you what you can and can't do. You just basically do whatever you want. And then when it's time to come home, you get to do all the exciting stuff and land on the boat.
And there was an opportunity for a football flyover. Talk about that.
Yeah, so actually my very first flight in the Super Hornet, one weekend it was the Ohio State Maryland game, and they were like, hey, it's military appreciation weekend. We're going to do a flyover. Would you like to come? Or would anybody like to come? And I was like, well, I'm from Ohio, and I've got a lot of friends and family that live in Columbus. So it'll be, yeah, I'll do it. So actually got to come down for I guess it was 2019, but the Ohio State Maryland game. That was really cool, just to, we are very spoiled because we get to fly in every single day. I just heard a Super Hornet fly by my house right there. I see him every day. I stand next to him. I'm flying in them. So I get spoiled, but it's exciting to come back, especially somewhere that doesn't have the opportunity to see that and experience that on a daily basis, and show people what we're doing and how exciting our job and our aircraft are.
So you are a very rare female pilot. What's that like?
There's actually, now we just got another, so we have 3 females in our squadron, which is awesome. It's definitely a minority, but it's growing. I thought like back, 5, 10, 15 years ago, there was less and less, but it's actually kind of cool to be within a small community inside a community. We always joke that in the VFA, the strike fighter world, everybody knows each other. But I find it's super rewarding. There's people who've gone before me and are willing to turn around and share that knowledge and share those experiences. And ultimately, the goal is that it's not, I mean, I think it is now. It's absolutely like merit-based. It's if you're good enough, this community wants you, because there's no room for, second guessing in this job. Everything happens too quickly. So if you're man, woman, whatever, up and down, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you can execute the job, which is a tough job.
Well, congratulations on all that you've accomplished. I guess I would open it up for questions unless you had more stories you wanted to tell.
No, I think some good stories can come out through some questions.
Tell a story about evacuation, water evacuation.
Oh, yeah. Talk about your training in the escaping the helicopter.
Oh yeah, so this is always a fun one. We call it the helo dunker, but in order to fly, you have to have, obviously flying over the water, you have to do like swim quals. So you have to swim, initially we had to swim a mile in a flight suit, which I'm not a very strong swimmer, so that was very difficult for me. But you get through it, persevere. But then they have this contraption so like that you can ride in helicopters in case the helicopter goes down in the water, because obviously with the engine, the rotor on the top of the helicopter, it's gonna, when it hits the water and sinks, it's gonna flip over. So they have a, they get you all done up in your flight suit with your little vest on, and you sit in the helicopter, and you strap in and everything, and then it's on a crane in a giant pool, and they slowly drop you into the pool, and it slowly flips upside down. So they make you wait until it's completely upside down. And then you have to unstrap yourself. And they had told you previously, there's like 8 doors in this contraption. They'll tell you which door you have to exit from. So if it's door 4, so you have to swim all the way down the helicopter and then go out that door. And usually the doors have like a lock on them. So it's like a contraption, just trying to keep you calm under pressure, underwater, upside down. So once you've mastered that and you're comfortable, which nobody ever gets comfortable doing that, then they make you do it blindfolded. So it's definitely a challenging evolution, but thankfully we only have to do it every 4 years. So it's one of my least favorite parts of this job, unfortunately. But it's actually a good trainer because it gets you comfortable in the water. And if you can do that, when it's easier, when it's game, if something does happen, you'll be ready to go.
So what's next for you?
I think I got a question here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
This is Alan. I wanted to, back in the day when we had only male officers, they were either addressed by rank or by Mr. and last name. And I wondered how that goes now for you.
So in our community, we're pretty from a officer to officer, or at least junior officer to junior officer. We'll either go by call sign or our just first name basis. It's pretty informal, but we actually still do the Mr. like outside. So, senior officers 05 and above, we'll just go by sir or ma'am. And then, it's talking or referring to each other, we'll refer to either Mr. or Miss, depending on the gender.
And I wanted to ask, in the Officer and a Gentleman movie, you remember that moment when the drill instructor pinned the bars on the ensign and then stood back and saluted. I wondered what that felt like for you. I remember what it felt like for me, and the power shifted, and all of a sudden you knew you had it and you didn't need to use it.
Yeah, I think that's a really great moment. I remember, we didn't get to do it in Pensacola, but we did it up in Newport, Rhode Island. And it was, it kind of be building to it, right? So in the beginning, you're just, nobody, and you're just get on your face, do push-ups, run, do whatever. And you have to guess a Marine Corps drill instructor, an inch from your face screaming at you. But then as you completed the tasks through OCS, you earned that respect, right? So when it came down to the first salute, it really was a powerful moment, because every day you'll walk around and people salute you, but that specific salute, it was very powerful because you knew you had earned that salute. That was someone who saw you as nothing other than somebody off the street just a few short weeks ago and had made your life really, really miserable in the interim. But that first salute, when you knew that you had earned that respect of those really tough guys and gals, that was a really special salute.
Here's another question. What is your call sign and how did you get it?
So I've gone through quite a few call signs. My first one was mistype, which was short story. I sent a text to someone that I was meant for someone else. I sent a text to an instructor about an instructor instead of to the student I meant to. So, and of course I was ragging on the instructor in the text. So And then I decided the appropriate response to that was sorry, sir, mistype. So that's how I got mistype there. But then the second call sign I got was BSR, backseat rider. So that was kind of like a FRS call sign. So they always just give you something mean, and they're implying that I do nothing in the backseat. I'm just riding along. And then finally, right now, I'm still a new guy at our squadron. So don't have an official one here yet, but we go through, they'll change. And then eventually, once you get one that's kind of sticks, once it fits you perfectly, then that one will stick for a while.
And what's next for you?
Just so I'm going to be here at VFA 11 for a while, and we're in the workups, getting ready to go on deployment, and just working hard, working, you know, amongst our squadron with the other squadrons in the air wing, and then starting working, integrating with the boat and the carrier strike group. So a lot of exciting stuff moving forward.
And you work hard and play hard. Mollie and I were both in St. Louis last month. Never got a chance to see each other because we were in separate directions, and she was at a ball game and in the arch and at lunch, and you guys have a lot of fun traveling. What's the best city you've been to?
It's hard to say. I think that trips to Key West are always a lot of fun. That's definitely a work hard, play hard town for us in the Navy. I, you know, enjoyed that. I enjoyed spending time in El Centro, which is just outside of San Diego, in California. So, you know, we'll work hard there, and then on the weekends escape out and get a weekend in San Diego, which is always a fun town to be in. I think that the most fun part though isn't where we go, it's who we go with. We get to go different places, get away from home, spend time away from, you know, any family that might be here, and that's when the real fun begins. You get to bond kind of as a unit and make those fun stories, those, you know, stories that you can't tell type deal, but you get to spend that time getting together, and then, you know, getting ready tactically for deployment and stuff, but also getting ready, building those bonds that make, you know, being in a squadron in the Navy special.
Well, I'm super proud of you, and congratulations for all that you've accomplished, and we wouldn't be able to end without saying thank you for what you do and keeping us safe and free. Somebody asked another question, what is your commitment to the Navy in terms of years?
So it's 6 years post winging, so we've got quite a bit to go yet.
Well, congratulations and keep going, and thank you so much for being on today.
Yep, thanks again for having me.
Mollie, we have to reiterate that we appreciate your service. We have to reiterate that, yeah, we have to reiterate the service that and sacrifice that you make. Having many of us know that there is a great deal of sacrifice when you join the service, and the more intense assignment, the more intense that sacrifice becomes at times. And none of us can really totally appreciate the level you're at unless you've been there. And so thank you so much for really what you do for all of us. And
thank you everyone for your support as well.
Yeah. So that brings us to next week's meeting. Will be actually club assembly. And what we'll be doing is we'll be visioning and having a visioning discussion that we've entitled our club past, present, future. As we begin to transition into next year, we want to look at where does our club want to go? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the strengths? Starting with where we've been and what we feel the strengths of the club are, where we are today, and what we want to do with the future. So we're going to divide up into subgroups in that meeting and do a visioning part of that. And I think it'll be quite interesting for all of you to discuss those particular topics. So that is set for next week. It is going to be on Zoom. And I really encourage everyone to participate in the club assembly. So that's what we have in store. With that, let's move on to the four-way test. And we did find the four-way test. So we can recite it as a group again. And of the things we think, say, and do, first,
Is the truth?
second,
Is it
fair
Fair to all concerned.
third,
Will it
Build goodwill, and better
Better
friendships.
friendships.
and fourth.
will it be
Will it be beneficial to all
concerned.
concerned?
Again, thank you for coming today. If you're attending in person or on Zoom, we cherish your attendance at meetings. And see you all hopefully next week.
I'll see you in the neighborhood. So, I was just wondering. So,